Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity powered by Empowering Science Foundation. Today we have Dr. Alok Javali with us as our Researcher Celebrity. Welcome Dr. Javali.
Thank you very much, Raja, for having me here.
Yeah,
It's a
so
great pleasure to talk to you.
thank you for the kind words. So a brief about Dr. Javali. He has done his bachelor's in engineering in biotech from RV College of Engineering, then pursued his PhD directly because if you have the bachelor in engineering degree, you can just move directly. You have option. Either you can go for master's or you can directly enroll into PhD because most of the bachelor's in sciences BSc people, you have to do that mandatory master's. So Dr. Javali joined NCBS in STEM for his PhD, and then presently he is at Institute of Molecular Biotech of Austrian Academy, which is also called as IMBA, and which is in the center of Vienna Biocenter. So with this, we start our conversation with Dr. Alok. Alok, how normally we start this conversation is like, how and when you decided that you want to be a researcher?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough question because I myself don't know. It was sort of for people who do engineering, it's sort of not so normal track to take. But biotechnology engineering itself, it's not traditional engineering branch itself. So that's why I guess in terms of when I completed my engineering. Getting a job was not a traditional thing to do, so higher studies was sort of mandatory. I think that is one of the reason I wanted to pursue higher studies. That is when I sort of explored what are the options. Luckily, during towards the end of my engineering, I got this IAS, Indian Academy of Science summer research fellowship. It's for 2 months, so that sort of exposed me to research institutes. I went to this institute called ICGB in New Delhi. So I spent 2 months there, and that was my first exposure to what really academic research is. I think that sort of motivated me to explore this path further. And with this, though I sort of got placed in my campus in a software company, though I did biotech, that I did not want to pursue that. I thought research is better option, and that's how I started applying to different research positions.
So this sounds like it was for you. Research was a love at first sight. Just within 2 months of research, and you were like engrossed, saying no to the campus placement.
Yeah, so I mean, so I kind of liked biology from the beginning. That's the reason I took biotechnology to begin with in my undergrad studies. But back then, at least, I started engineering in 2008. Back then, biotech was still a little new. The course structures and all were not very well developed. So ours was mixture of a lot of chemical engineering subject or industrial biotechnology subject, and only part of it was pure life science. I wanted to explore more in this life science area. Uh, and also coming from a private engineering college, the infrastructure and all is it's still upcoming. But when I really went to the research lab, I could really whatever we had learned in theory, we could see that people practically doing it. Something as simple as PCR, for example, it's not so common in engineering college. But when I went to this research institute, I saw like 10 or 20 PCR machines standing next to each other. You could really do cloning and everything within a day or two, right? So this was very fascinating. This sort of motivated me to pursue this, like explore this. And yeah, so that's how I started like exploring various options. And I think as you mentioned during introduction, so being engineer, being doing 4-year course, that allowed me to directly go for PhD. Because I think I was kind of lucky to get into such a program immediately after my undergrad.
Nice. So when you started thinking that you want to pursue PhD, what were the thoughts? Because this is so untraditional path. Not many engineers go to for PhD. Obviously, we have seen that people who are rare in engineering and after their bachelor's, they just move to a PhD. are the one who has done so many wonders, and we look forward to see something from you like that. So if you can share the thoughts before joining PhD and how was the journey of PhD?
I mean, I was quite ignorant of what PhD is when I started started my PhD course. I didn't know what PhD is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, mainly because of my background. So as
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned, so I just had 2 months of exposure to research. I didn't know about the structure. I think it was kind of a little bit of leap of faith, right? So that I
Mm-hmm.
could really do it. It's extremely challenging journey, but somehow I was sure that I don't want to work in a software company with biotechnology background. Not that the industry is bad. It's just that my background doesn't fit that industry because I didn't have training. So I wanted to make use of my education. So
Yes.
that's where I can say I have good foundation. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the only reason I decided to do PhD, right? So because I want to make use of what I've learned in my
Yes.
early days. Yeah. So again, it was sort of I joined PhD with some ignorance, but I
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot on the way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the journey, if you can, share some incidences or the experience of the whole journey of PhD, because you had a thought, or as you mentioned about leap of faith, you entered with certain mindset, but
Mhm.
how it turned out during that journey and post that, when you now look for back, how do you see that what actually happened during that?
Yeah. So I completed my undergrad, that is BE in biotechnology in 2012, and I
Mm-hmm.
joined PhD in 2013 in NCBS. But before
Mm-hmm.
that, I spent 1 year in JNCSR.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Actually, I was a part of integrated PhD program there, which I discontinued later to join NCBS.
Mm-hmm.
This I think this transition in JNCSR was extremely good experience for me. Though for various reasons, I had to discontinue it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where I got some detailed idea about what academic research is, because
Mm-hmm.
it's another premier institute doing extremely good work. So I
Mm-hmm.
got a chance to take courses by many leaders in the field. So
Mm-hmm.
my PhD is in stem cells and developmental biology. So this topic was alien to me after my undergrad, but in JNCSR I
Mm-hmm.
took a course on this topic, that is stem
Mm-hmm.
cells and development, and this is the topic that blew my mind, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think this motivated me to look into Institute of Stem Cells. That's the reason I applied for PhD program there. So I think this course, the courses that I took in JNCS are really sort of equipped me to pursue PhD. So, and and yeah, I think this helped me also a lot in terms of understanding what research procedure is. And eventually I joined InSTEM in 2013, and uh, yeah, I could translate what I learned a little bit into my own research.
So when you were considering, now after a bit more exposure of research at JNCSR, you got introduced interested in stem cells. So when you thought that, okay, now you want to pursue your PhD in stem cells, and then when you were done with that thesis and awarded as Dr. Alok Javali, what was
Mhm.
the first thought that you think that you want to pursue research as like for the future in career, or you thought you want to do something else?
Uh, it's extremely tough question to answer. So I mean, I had extremely good experience during my PhD. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love the lab that I was in. I think our lab did extremely good quality science, and it was very friendly to the members of the lab. So
Mm-hmm.
like we come across all sort of not so pleasant stories about the PhD journey.
Yes.
So especially in terms of lab environment and pressure and stuff, but I was in extremely good environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I had amazing colleagues and amazing supervisor, extremely supportive of science as well as future career. But in
Mm-hmm.
spite of that, research is kind of it's not sort of a linear path. There are many ups and downs. So I had quite a few of downs as well, purely because of I mean, research is like that. It's uncertain, so there is no right thing to do or something. So uh, during I think towards end of third or fourth year, I was quite sure I don't want to be in academic research for long term. But I'm still unsure of why is that the case. But I thought I should explore career outside academia as well. But I thought that getting little more international exposure would be important to pursue career outside academia. That's the reason I decided to do postdoc, but in the same field.
So when you were starting, so this is these are some of the things which when we have these conversation with our researcher celebrities, that you briefly mentioned about the stress, about the lab environment. And you said that you are fortunate enough to have everything perfect, that
Yeah.
sail your boat and, all the good experiences you got. But when you see a person going through stress or, things are not working out, and as you mentioned, and in your third or fourth year of your PhD, you thought you will not be continuing in academic research, although you want to be a researcher, but not in academic research, probably more translational or, immediate future, like which can serve society also. When you see people moving out of their PhDs at third or fourth year, what, or if you have seen anyone doing that in your near you, what do you think that were the key factors which made them to take those decisions?
You mean who have quit the PhD or
Yes.
decided to uh, who have quit the PhDs?
Yes. Yes.
Uh, at
If you
least
know of
so.
anyone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, but uh, so like at least in my batch, I don't think anybody has quit per se. They have changed the labs and gone to different places and this sort of stuff. But uh, I don't know anyone personally. Of course, I've heard of stories, but I don't know anyone directly or personally who has quit PhD as such.
Nice.
Uh, yeah,
That is
but
good
yeah,
then.
of course, I've heard of stories of people doing that. It's more common than expected, I guess. A lot of people quit, but I don't know anyone personally. At least I can't recall right now.
Nice. No, this is good. And here I would like to tell all of our viewers that, as Dr. Javali briefly just mentioned, that instead of giving up on PhD, a good idea is like if you can change the lab, if you can work with a place, either a place or a mentor or in a lab environment where you feel you belong to, there is nothing wrong in changing it instead of giving up on it. Because in first place, if you have committed for PhD, you might have given enough thought what it takes. And if you have done all of that work and you sustain for 3 or 4 years, that means you have done all what it takes to be a PhD. So if you have done all of that, then why you want to just give up on because of reasons? Yes, we all are human, and we should always think about what are the prospective solutions we can come up with. And moving from one lab to another lab, from one institute to another institute is a very viable option. So please do consider all of that if there are circumstances which force you to think that you should not continue your research. So don't give up on that. That is one thing which we always say. Researchers never give up, and that's what makes you a researcher. Coming back to this never giving up attitude, you said you also have your own fair share of not working experiments. How you coped up with all of that?
I mean, I should give a lot of credit to my supervisor. He was amazing mentor. So that was my first uh, line of support. So whenever I had issues, I could really discuss and think of practical solutions. So either change the direction, change the experiment, or things like this. So that was always there. Again, so my lab mates and even my batchmates were amazing. So I mean, yeah, it's really the case with me. So though I've heard of stories from others about things not being working in terms of environment, but I had amazing environment, so that really helped me cope. And second thing, I think what really helped me is getting physical exercise. So
Okay.
again, coming from amazing campus of NCBS and INSTEM, so you could really go for a run or swim or something. So that was another way of coping up with mental stress. So yeah. Uh,
This is one thing which I always, tell the researchers that if you can do a physical activity, that is the best time or a sport to take out your stress. They are stress busters because of the reasons. Either it be adrenaline rush because when you are in there, you are so competitive. It takes out all of it and washes your system from all of the stress and the negativity which you have. So I believe that worked well for you.
Definitely, yeah. It was definitely necessary,
Mhm.
and I think peer support groups, your batchmates, your lab mates, and even your mentors. So talking to them openly and honestly, I think that really helps. So yeah, yeah, yeah. If you can get some support from people around you, I think it's better to talk and get support.
And I believe that the way the word you used for your mentor, that first line of support, that's how it should be. I believe for all of the research scholars, because talking makes things easy. Sometimes you are in the kind of a very narrowed hole because you cannot think about so many things out of the box. And when you discuss with your peers, with your PI, it gives you a different perspective that, oh, yeah, that was so easy fix. And that's how I believe the research all globally, works. So when you moved out from India to
Mm-hmm.
Austria, how was the first this change? Because now we also want to give our viewers the idea of when they are moving from one country to other. There are cultural shocks, there are language barriers, especially when now you are in Austria. If you can share some of that.
Yeah. Uh, First thing when I noticed when I came here, absolute first thing, so is lack of campus. So
Mm-hmm.
we are Vienna Biocenter is amazing. So you have like three hardcore research institutes and multiple biotech institutes clustered together in a vicinity of each other. But uh, coming from again Bangalore Life Science Cluster campus, it has amazing, beautiful campus here. It's mostly bunch of buildings.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the infrastructure is quite good here. It looks more or less similar to what we have in NCBS, but the support system, I would say, it's to next level. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Again, not to tell that NCBS is not good or something. NCBS is absolutely great, but here it's just that there is much more funding, because of which there is possibility of much more support here. There is uh, like the core facilities are bigger, and the pace at which things move, it's a much higher. So for example, the way at which funds come in, and the pace at which you can spend the money to get your reagents, etc., it's just much higher. That allows easier research.
Yes.
So that was one positive thing. Again, so there is extremely good support even here, in terms of both in terms of science, in terms of collaborations between groups. All those things are absolutely fantastic. Again, very comparable with NCBS in STEM. uh, in, in terms of shock, I would say what was extremely difficult for me in the beginning is I came here exactly when COVID came. So within one
Oh.
month of joining the campus, so there was lockdown. Absolutely, there is no social community, social circle that I had, and I was still getting integrated into the lab. And but within one month of joining, I had to sit at home for more than 2 months without any communication. So that was quite hard, I would say. But otherwise, I think people have been very friendly and accommodating here. But language is definitely an issue here. Uh, Austria's national language is German,
Mm-hmm.
so it doesn't affect at all in the campus. It's the campus itself is extremely international, and you can easily work with English. But outside, it can not knowing German can be a little difficult.
Yeah, and this is something which we I always say that whenever you are considering for your prospective postdoc or just even for jobs if you are moving out of India, These are a few things which you should consider, that either equip yourself, because as you mentioned that in lab it is fine.
Yeah.
The working language is just English, so you are interacting. But when you are out of lab, which is quite a time also, when you are interacting with someone and you cannot communicate, that's when you face those challenges, which can be reduced for preparing. That if you know that you are going to a European country or any country where what is the national language, and if you can get a brief of that, at least for the minimum survival, that helps.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, so Alok, when now you are in your almost third or fourth year of postdoc also, what are the future goals which you have for yourself, that okay, you want to be a researcher forever, or you want to be more of a translational research, or now how research has changed in your mind?
Uh, so though I come, so like absolutely in the beginning, I come from engineering background, as I mentioned. So
Mm-hmm.
where we always thought of direct solutions to real
Mm-hmm.
world problems, but having spent around 8 years in academic research, so that mindset had slowly changed. So for us,
Mm-hmm.
academic research was purely fundamental and thinking about a biological question, and trying different ways of answering it, so which is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely great and absolutely required. I think
Mm-hmm.
this is how you generate knowledge, and this is how you understand any system, biological system.
Mm-hmm.
But I think over last 1 or 2 years, I have also been thinking of how this knowledge that is generated by academic research can be uh, applied to real world problems, let's say. So I've been like, luckily I've been working on stem cell based system, so that
Mm-hmm.
has some clinical significance. So I've been thinking of how my own research can be used to address any of the clinical or real world problems. So I think both work more or less in a similar way. You come up with a hypothesis and test it whether your hypothesis holds true or not, using different experiments. So I think the core way of doing research is same, but its implications could be different. That's all. So uh, yeah.
So if I say that now spending almost over a decade in research, how you summarize that life of a researcher is?
uh, it, it, it's extremely difficult question. So I
Mhm.
think I mean,
Okay,
life
let's
of
make it
researcher
more
in India,
personalized.
or sorry.
Let's make it more personalized for you. If
Yeah,
you have to say that the last decade of your life, you enjoyed research. If you have
yeah.
to say that, how was the journey happened in different places? How was that?
Uh, Again, so I think research, as I mentioned earlier, it's quite non-linear. There are a lot of ups and downs. When things move forward, you are happy, and when things don't move, again, it can be extremely difficult to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and one more thing that I've noticed here or elsewhere, even in India, is typically research job is underpaid compared to others in similar career stage. So especially coming from engineering college, so I see that my batchmates from engineering college immediately get placed in top companies, and they earn like of 10 times, maybe even 50 times more than what a PhD student earn. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to get better even after end of PhD.
Yes.
Uh, in India, as well as even in foreign countries, so research jobs are typically less paid jobs. So that kind of gives some stress,
Mm-hmm.
especially for people who have family responsibilities and all. It may not matter to everyone, but to some it can
Yes.
uh, uh, really be a problem. And on top of that, again, so I should be extremely thankful to NCBS and INSTEM that I always got salary on time when I was doing my PhD. But you still come across your colleagues or your friends who
Yes.
are being paid once in 6 months or once in 1 year, and you see the struggle. So this is kind of extremely painful thing to uh, see, right? So I think if I think one cannot describe life of researcher in India without bringing up this issue, I guess. Though,
Absolutely. No.
even though you are not personally, uh, if even though you have not personally suffered, you have seen other people suffer. So I think this is one of the things that definitely has to be improved. Yeah, of course, and yeah. So when it comes to ups and downs of your scientific world, so of course, then you need to talk to your peers and support groups.
Yeah. And here I would like to tell all of our viewers that as Dr. Javali gave, you have to decide before if you want to be a researcher. Yes, you can. But then you have to do the SWOT analysis of your priorities, that what is the priority. And then you decide, because if you are going to premier institutes like NCBS, IASC, this is not the issue. But still in India, there are so many institutions where getting salary every month is not a normal task. As Dr. Javali just said, that sometimes it happens you get paid for 6 months straight, but those 5 months when you are not paid, you have the responsibility. You have to consider everything before joining a lab, before selecting an institute where you want to pursue your PhD. That how well funded they are, how easily you can take care of your responsibilities, because research comes with a bunch. You know, one day you'll be so excited when your experiment works the way you want. Most of the days, or some days, we can say you are disappointed or disheartened because some things went wrong. And that's why we always say that PhD is a training. So even if you want to get yourself trained for future, for the lifetime, as we say that PhD prepares you for the life. It teaches you that how to deal with success, how to deal with failure, how to be neutral, how to be, just for everything, whatever you faces in life. If you have done PhD with your heart, there is no way you can be disappointed in life with anything, be it human behavior or be your research. So now, when we are walking towards the end of our conversation, Alok, how you see researchers celebration in the world? Because now when we are having this conversation, I introduced you as a researcher celebrity. That's what we do. What are your thoughts about researchers being celebrities?
Uh, uh, Again, so I feel like research it's sort of a, a joint effort. I don't believe there are superstars or something in
Mm-hmm.
research, or especially in research, because I always feel if anybody discovers anything or invents something, so there is decades of underlying research behind that. So
Yes.
so I mean, of course, the research should be celebrated, it should be widely communicated, and it should be accessible. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's fair to give one person a lot of credit for uh, 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 their impact in certain field, right? So because
Absolutely.
even if certain discovery or invention is made by one person, as I said,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm sure like there are hundreds and thousands of other researchers who have worked in the background to make
Absolutely.
certain discovery a real, right? So for example, I
Yes.
think uh, I can give one example where uh, potentially both the researchers got uh, rightful recognition. That is in case of IPSCs, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Professor Gordon had come up with this idea of uh, reprogrammable cells back in
Mm-hmm.
1963, and eventually only after like 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
Shinya Yamanaka made use of similar concept and reprogrammed the cells from skin to stem cells. So, I mean, in this case, luckily, both of them got Nobel Prize. In many cases, the underlying
Yes.
biological insight that led to certain discoveries may not get enough recognition. So, I believe like it's better to celebrate a concept or uh, biological topic rather than celebrating individual researcher. So this is just my point of view.
No, absolutely. And this is the idea behind having this series. So, Empowering Science Foundation believe in breaking the barriers. And as you clearly mentioned, and this is something which we want to highlight in all of our talks or the conversation, that fundamental research, every single PhD has laid down some step or, a small stone into the ocean of research. So we should celebrate every single researcher, because even if it's a PhD, the thesis, there is a lot of work which has been done globally, or you probably might be starting something for the first time. But as you said, that the fundamental research has been done by, someone or so many other people. They were there, which we build our thesis on. That's why we have so many references at the end of the PhD thesis. And acknowledging them and adding one more, because now people are acknowledging your work. Now, Javali Etel is the way how people knows that, okay, he has done some his part. Coming back to the concept of celebrating the research, every single researcher is a celebrity for us. And that's how we celebrate it. The reason why we are having this conversation as researcher celebrities, like, let's celebrate research. Doesn't matter where and how much it has been done, but the idea of celebrating it, as you said, people, we in our field, Nobel Prize is the thing which is like the star mark, the hallmark which people work towards to. But any fundamental research is as equal to anything else. With this idea, now, if I ask you, do you see yourself as a researcher celebrity?
I mean, yeah, if you say you celebrate every researcher, of course, then every researcher is a celebrity.
Thank you very much for accepting this. And now let's move on to the last phase of our conversation, that whatever you have learned from your research experience, if you have to give the word of wisdom to budding researchers or young minds who are considering to come or become a researcher for their lifetime, what are your suggestions for them?
uh, to people who are absolutely new and trying to get into PhD or something, I think first thing that I would want to say is work in an environment that you are comfortable with. This is absolute first one. Make sure your future colleagues and future mentor are something that you're compatible with. Select in a way that you're compatible with. And second would be don't marry to a topic. So be a little flexible, because I think you can do good work even if topic is not of your first priority. Even then you can get you can really learn a lot, and maybe you will start liking it even more than what you had thought. So
Nice.
I think these two are these two really helped me. So I think this is what I would suggest others as well. If
Thank
I have
you.
to tell more, I have to think.
No, that I think that was crisp and clear. And with this, I would like to tell all our viewers that if you want to write to Dr. Alok Javali, you can directly write to him. If you want Researcher Celebrity or Empowering Science Foundation to put you in connection with our other researcher celebrity, please feel free to write it to us. We are here to help you in achieving your dreams. With this final note, I would like to say thanks, Dr. Alok, for taking time out and sharing the wonderful experience.
Thank you very much for having me here again. It was nice